So what's up, guys? I'm super excited. Tonight we're going to be talking to a rock star. Courtney Williams is on with us, and she just is just a little saucy girl. Me and Tay were just saying that on the last Zoom. But yeah, so I'm excited to hear from her, and I'm excited for you guys to hear from her too, just so she can share all of her tips. She's like a little enrolling machine. So Courtney, why don't you just share with us a little bit about how you got started? I know a lot of people on here probably haven't heard your story, and tell us a little bit about what it looks like now too.
Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna give you like a short version because I feel like the longer you're in this business, there's so many bits and pieces. But I joined when I was 19. I just finished my freshman year of college, and I was the type that, like, I say I was a broke college student because now looking back, I was, but really I had saved up during all of high school. Like, I was a saver because I knew I had to pay for my own college. And so going into college, I wasn't a broke college student. But by the end of that first year, I had literally spent all of it on college, on my sorority that I joined, on everything that you had to pay for. And I was like, well, crap, like that was supposed to last me through college, and now I like don't have anything. And so I was looking at going into a lot of debt to be able to continue college, and that was never part of my plan. I was planning on paying for it in cash, and I had a job through college and everything, but it just wasn't enough. It wasn't paying me enough to put back in what I was taking out. And so yeah, I joined that May of my freshman year of college. I just finished school, so I joined, and I went executive my second month in the business, and I was like, okay, cool, because I joined for that like $200. I was like, listen, Kayla Gilbert's my enroller, and I literally watched her, and she was posting how she was making $10,000 a month, and I was like, she's lying, but that's fine, because even if she's making half of that, like I can make $200. Like that was kind of my like justification, and so that's why I joined. And so when I was an executive earning that amount, I was like, okay, cool. Like, this is awesome. I'm earning that extra money. I earned like that first summer. So in those like 3 months, I earned like, I want to say like $1,000 to $2,000 in fast starts. And so like I was an executive, but I like was earning a ton in fast starts. So really I was earning more than that. And so I was able to quit my college job. So I went back to college, not having to have that job in my schedule. I was able to just do this business. But I sat at executive for 8 months in my business, and it was because I was lazy. I let excuses get in the way. I was a busy college student. I kept letting that be my excuse instead of letting that fuel my fire. And so I sat at executive for 8 months, went to conference in February, and they announced the Emerald bonus. And so that is when my whole mind shift changed, and I went from letting those excuses be excuses to letting those struggles of being busy like fuel me. And I worked like every second that I had free in my day, I was working my business, and I went from executive to Emerald in that 1 month, earned that $5,000 bonus, and then I went diamond the next month and double 2 months later. And so that's kind of that. And so my favorite part of my story is that I literally joined hoping that this would save me from going into debt, and it did. And I didn't go as fast as I wanted to, but at the end of the day, I graduated college with 0 debt, and that was my goal. And so that was a huge blessing for me, just being able to like save me from that. I know people say they pay off debt, so if you don't have debt, that's okay too. You can still have a story, because I struggled with that for a long time. I was like, well, I can't say I paid off debt because I didn't, but really it saved me from all that. And so I was able to do that. I graduated in last December, and instead of going to grad school, I decided to not go to grad school, and this is what I do full time now. So that is me. I don't know.
I love it. I love it. So, okay, let's talk about that mindset shift. So what do you think? Because I feel like executive for a lot of people is like, okay, executive is 2 distributors on your team, you know, each of them having 400 in volume. That feels a little bit more realistic when you first join than Emerald. Which feels like that's a lot more volume. Like the mindset is just different. What do you think about that announcement being made your mindset shift? Or was it you being at conference?
Yeah, so they announced it at conference. So I was hoping, because they had a Ruby bonus a couple months back, and I didn't get it, or like the Ruby box or whatever. And so we went to conference, and I was like, okay, they're gonna come out with bonuses. I know that. So I really hope it's a Ruby bonus. And so they announced it, and I was bummed. Like I was like, well, this sucks. Like I'm not even Ruby yet. Like I still have a whole nother step before I can even go Emerald. So I was discouraged. Like I sat there like, okay, whatever, like congrats people that are going to go Emerald. And so we went to our team dinner, and honestly not only being at conference, but just being around the people at conference, because Kayla was asking everybody at dinner, what are you going to do with that $5,000 bonus? Like already telling us that we were going to get it, and what are we going to spend it on? And so my mind was like, well, I'm not going to get it, but if I do, I'm going to spend it on school. And so my mind was already thinking of what I was going to spend it on. And so, but that whole time at conference, I was like, how am I going to do that? Like, there's no way. Like, I remember me and one other girl that were both going to go for it, but we were so far away. We're both like, Kayla's crazy. Like, we're not going to be able to do this. Like, we were still discouraged. But on my plane ride home, I think I just, after going to conference and then having that time to be quiet with myself and not in the hustle and bustle, on the plane ride home, I got out my chart and I literally was charting, and I was like, it's happening. And that's like when I knew, like, I was laser focused, like, I'm doing it. I'm already Emerald. I know it. And so I don't know. I think it's just a combination of being at conference, being surrounded by all those people, and then just the decision of like, you either go for it or you don't. And I decided to go for it.
So, okay. So you decided to go for it. Do you remember what the first thing you did was when you got off the plane?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know. That was a long time ago.
What would you, okay, so what would you tell somebody if that was them? What would be the first thing you should do?
So the first thing for me was filling my boxes, because obviously I was executive. I had more distributors, but were they all working? No. Was I charted for Emerald? No. And so I just pulled out my chart on the plane, and that's where I was looking at, okay, what do I need? Because when I looked at it like that, and I'd never charted for Emerald before, because I always thought, well, Ruby's your next step. Why even look at Emerald? And so that's kind of where I looked at first. And I was like, okay, the first thing is filling my boxes. And so I just got bold. Like I was posting like crazy. I probably looked like a crazy person, like one of those annoying people on social media, and I didn't even care, because I was so desperate for it that you do anything in your power to get it, if that makes sense. So I was like messaging like crazy, doing host posts like crazy, posting like crazy, like doing all of the things, and I can't even explain it in words because it's kind of just a blur. But I feel like when you're that laser focused, like you have no distractions to where you're just like, whatever I have to do, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go do all the things and get results from it. You know what I mean?
Yep. I love that. I actually wrote something down that I saw earlier that you reminded me of. Let me see if I can please find this because it was so good. But it was talking about like positivity and how being positive, like you can really do the same amount of work, but when you have a positive mindset, right? Because I think people hear the word like you want it so desperately, or you're so desperate or whatever, and you come home and it's literally desperate. Like when you get to conference, or even now, like if you're in a situation, you're like, I desperately want this to work. 90% of desperation, in my opinion, is desperation from a fear standpoint. Okay. But when you come home from conference, it's desperation. Like, I am so desperate to know how it feels to get that $5,000 bonus. Like it is such a different sense of that urgency to work. Okay. Because I think that understanding that like you're not coming from a place of like, I'm going to have this and you better give it to me. Or you come from a place of, I want to have this because I know how it's going to feel and I want you to feel it too. Okay. And those are two different things, right? So when she says like she was so hungry and so desperate for it, it's not like she was desperate begging people to be on her team, but she was desperate knowing that she knew what she could do to get there. And she saw it. When you see a vision, everybody else just subconsciously sees it. That's in your energy realm. Okay. Like they just feel it. They're like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, she's doing that. And she's talking differently and she's acting differently and she's posting differently. And so my question to you, Courtney, is what do you feel like once you hit Emerald and then you promoted basically to double? Okay. So you went executive to Emerald, then to diamond, then to double, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like within how long? So you were paid as executive going into conference. And then how many?
I was actually paid as a distributor going into conference.
Okay.
That December and January. So in February, I really went from getting paid as a distributor to Emerald. Then I went diamond in March, double in May. So February to May.
So from February to May, you went essentially from distributor to double.
Yeah, paid rank, yeah.
That's crazy. Okay. And do you feel like it was like a domino effect of like your confidence just kept growing because you kept doing it? Or do you feel like what would you say to somebody who's like, I can't even get one distributor. Like I can't even fill my steps of success. Like what is your words of encouragement? Like, because I feel like you've been there, like we've all been there, but what would you say to somebody like that?
I feel like it starts with one goal. So for me, it was forcing myself to believe that I was worthy of Emerald, and whether that Emerald bonus came out or not, maybe that would have been me going Ruby, whatever, but that stepping stone, because I feel like me sitting at executive for so long, I like just expected myself by the end of my first year to be a diamond. And so it's overwhelming to look at it like that, like, well, I need to go diamond and I'm currently getting paid as a distributor. Well, that's going to be discouraging. But when you look at it as like, okay, first go Emerald. Okay, I can do that. And then, from Emerald to Diamond, that's not that far. I can do that. And then from Diamond to Double, it was just like little steps, but it was a continuous pattern of that. And so just having, I don't even know, but just using it as those stepping stones instead of, I feel like people join and they're a distributor and then they're like, oh, it'd be really cool to go diamond. And then 2 months later, they're like, well, I'm not a diamond. Or they're like trying, I don't know, because I feel like having that goal in mind is good, but you have to have the stepping stones that go with it. Go Ruby, then go Emerald, then go Diamond. And it's way simpler because it's little steps then. And I feel like, especially when, I don't know, when you're having a boom season, like using all of that energy until you've sucked it all out, if that makes sense. Because I feel like, especially in the spring after conference, everybody's ready to run. So you can either use that to not promote at all. You can use it to promote once. You can use it to promote twice or 3 times, whatever you want. But like using all of that and rallying with your team. And I feel like that's how I went so quickly, boom, 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 was because I just kept using that momentum and using that excitement. And when you're promoting, even your followers are excited with you. And I swear all these people start coming out of the woodworks because they're like, oh, she says she's promoting. Like, that's exciting. I want to join your team. Like, they just get excited because you're excited and they know where you know where you're going and they know where you're going. And so by using that, for all of those months, I had all these people coming out of the woodworks over and over and over because I was continuing the momentum. And so it really comes from you and what you're putting out there, and then just continuing that and not letting it die out. Because once you let it die out, like you have to rebuild that all again. So it's going to be harder to like pick your promotion back up and do it again versus just trailing it along.
So what would you say is something that you've struggled with, like even if maybe you struggled with it in the past? And I know you kind of touched on like just believing in yourself, but what's something recently that you feel like you've struggled with that you've had to overcome?
I feel like recently my struggle has been leadership, to be honest. Just like, because I feel like everybody has bad days, and I have like bad days, and I've had bad months, and like there's just like crap that goes on. And I feel like my biggest struggle has always been leadership, but lately it's been like a punch in the gut where like, okay, if you want to go to the next level, like you're gonna have to go to the next level and like do more for your team. And so that's kind of been a punch in the face for me. But yeah,
And I want you guys to drop a 1 in the comments if you feel like you struggle with your own leadership. I don't care if you just join. I don't care if you're, like you're just like, you know what? Like I struggle with my leadership because look at all these people. And I want you guys to know, like, you're not alone. Like there's these, I struggle with my leadership. Okay. Like it doesn't go away. That struggle, you guys, doesn't go away. But what happens is you get better. Number 1. Number 2, because here's the thing. If you didn't feel that struggle, you wouldn't ever be forced to get better, right? It's kind of like if you have a wound, like you get hurt, okay? And it's like, I got hurt, but like, I'm not going to stop touching the pan until it hurts, right? Until I know that it hurts. So you stop touching it, right? You stop touching the hot stove. And then you learn to not touch the hot stove, okay? But if there wasn't the pain, you wouldn't learn anything. And so sometimes we have to go through that situation in order to get better, because if not, we just remain flatlined. You don't get better. Nothing is growing. Nothing's, it's just like this. And I don't know about you, but when it's like this, it's no fun. Like progress is going to equal happiness. If you know you're growing, you always have something to look forward to. And so I want you all to know on here tonight, whether it's leadership, whether it's self-belief, whether it's worthiness, whether it's capability, whether are you smart enough? Are you young enough? Are you pretty enough? Are you whatever enough? Okay. The devil tells us all the same stuff, that we're not enough, no matter which area you are in. Okay. And I will tell you, whether you're Courtney, who's a triple, whether you're Taylor, who's a president, no, it does not matter what level you're at. Those same lies are constantly going to be going through your brain. However, it just is different on how much rent space you allow that thought to give in your head. Okay. Because number one, you get better. And number two, you get better at shutting them out. Okay. Because when I first started, it was so heavy. That was so heavy. That was so loud. That was so just prominent. But you learn how to get better at shutting those things out. So don't ever think that when you hit a rank, those thoughts just magically disappear. Okay. It doesn't happen. Like, sorry to break it to you, burst your bubble. Like, I know you think, oh, if I just hit diamond, like I'm going to feel so much better about this. Okay. That lasts for about the moment you see your paycheck. And then the next moment, something else will happen. Okay. And then something else will happen. And then you'll be like, oh God, am I going to be able to get this paycheck next month? Oh God. And you have all these different new sets of problems that are going to come, but it's not a problem, you guys. It's not a problem. It's an opportunity for you to get better. And so stop thinking that a rank or a paycheck is going to fix how you feel. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to go off on that tangent, but I just did. So as you can see, a lot of people, almost every single person on here, put a 1 in the comments that they struggle with leadership. What's something that you feel like you've done to help yourself? Like, is it just getting into massive action? Is it just trying new things? Like, is it, maybe you do coaching calls? What do you feel like has helped you with your leadership?
Yeah, and I'll answer that. But I also want to say, like, when you're talking about all that, what pops into my head is when Cami always says, with every new level comes a new devil. Like, you're always going to have those things, like Kelsey said, coming back at you, but it's how you look at it. So I could sit here and be like, well, I'm going through a really tough time. I suck at being a leader. None of my team likes me. They're all mad at me. I'm not even helping them. These people are quitting because of me. Like, I can think of it like that, or I can think of it like, you know what? Like, I'm going through a really hard time right now, but I know I'm going to come out on the other side, and this is the devil happening. Like, this is the devil telling me that I'm not a good leader. And I know that on the other side of that is going to be the new level. And so I look at it as like, this is my valley, but I'm going up to my mountaintop. And so, like, I just gradually have to get better and I'll get there. Instead of thinking that, like, oh, I'm just at rock bottom and I'm never going to get out. I'm just stuck here. You're not stuck there. Like, you're just on your way to a new place and you have to grow to get there. So this is like my time of growth before I can go presidential and be a presidential leader. Like, I have to go through this growth season. And so that's kind of how I've been looking at it. But as for improving, honestly, learning, like reading more books, like doing more self-development, just to improve on whatever that is for you, whether that's believing in yourself, leadership, whatever it is, but targeting that with your self-development. Because I feel like I used to just do like a blanket self-development and just whatever I wanted to listen to, just click on a random podcast, whatever I feel like gets me hype, but actually doing something that's learning and, giving me knowledge and growth and all those things that help me get through that. And honestly, just being honest with my team. Like, there's times where I'm like, I'm sorry, like I made the wrong call, or I'm sorry, like I probably should have handled this differently, but here we are, like, just work with me. Like, I'm human. And a lot of them have been like, no, I completely understand. Like, you have a huge team, you have a ton going on. I understand it, but like, I'm still there to work with them, if that makes sense. So just like being honest with people when it comes to leadership. But yeah, I say read more books targeted on whatever you want your growth in to help you grow in that specific area, not just like blanket self-development like I used to do.
Yes. Here's the thing, you guys. This is something that I wish somebody would have told me maybe 3 years ago would have helped. But self-development is amazing. Any of you guys know anything about me? I am like obsessed with self-development. Okay. It's like my favorite thing in the world. However, because self-development is like a feel-good thing, right? It makes you feel good. It makes you feel something, like feel inspired, feel motivated, whatever that feeling is, sometimes it can become like bear with me when I use this, it can become like a drug. Like, oh, something wrong happened in my business. Let me just get some self-development. Oh, something wrong happened. Let me just listen to somebody who's going to make me feel good. Oh, okay. And what happens is if you don't do it with intentionality, meaning if you don't do it and say, I'm listening to this because I want to get this out of it, or this is an area I need to improve on, it'll just be like, I know how to say all these things and I know how to like sound good, but I don't know what I'm actually learning about. Okay. When I first joined the business, all my self-development was business stuff. Like I listened to Jade Hooper on repeat, on repeat, on repeat, on repeat, on repeat. Okay. Because you guys, if you're new, don't listen to like Tony Robbins and go really deep in your soul. Like you don't need to do that yet. Okay. What you need to do is learn how to speak about the products, learn how to speak about the business, learn the language of how we're doing it. Okay. Learn as much as you can about the business and how to talk about it and how to be about it and all that stuff. When you feel very comfortable in that, light will start to shed on some areas that you do need to work on, whether that's confidence, whether that's consistency, whether that's self-worth. And so I love that Courtney said that, because so often we're like, yeah, I'm doing my self-development. Okay, what are you doing? Well, I'm listening to a podcast, but I forgot the guy's name. And I am reading the book. What's that book called? We don't even know what we're doing. We're just doing it for a check. Be intentional about it and ask yourself, if I want to go diamond, these is the 2 areas I need to improve on. And if your self-development is not talking about one of those 2 areas, don't do it. Don't do it. It might be very interesting and it might make you feel really good, but there will be a time and a place for that, and it's not right now. Okay. And this is something, you guys, that I am just learning within the last year that I wish somebody would have told me. Okay. Because I think it would have helped me just be so much more effective and efficient in what I was learning, versus feeling like she said, like a blanket coverall self-development. I'll feel good for a little bit and then I'll have to get another hit in a second when something else comes bad. Like when something bad happens, let me just turn on some self-development and forget it, instead of feeling that something bad and saying, okay, I need to improve on that specific area. Okay. What would you say is the biggest thing that got you to diamond?
Post to post, honestly. Because that's the time where it was like booming, and like it still works, but like, oh my gosh, like back then it was like insane. But post to post was like the main thing, but also, like I said, just like, I don't know, this isn't helpful, but like just doing all the things. And I don't mean that in like a confusing, like I have to do everything. Like not in a confusing way to where you overwhelm yourself, but just like being so excited that I'm just like messaging, posting, like doing all of the things. But just being consistent with that, and consistent with, I don't know if I did this for my diamond promotion, but I know I did it for triple, and it was amazing. But posting how many orders I am away from my goal. Rachel Jones did that, and I was like, okay, so do you have an actual system for this? And she was like, yeah, like I just divide it by 30 BB orders, and then I post how many small orders I am away. And I would do that, and tons of people would come out of the woodworks for some reason. I don't know, because they can see where you're at. And so posting about where you are in your goal, where you're going with your goal, like already claiming it, because people are like, holy crap, this girl just claimed she's getting this bonus and she hasn't even got it yet. Like she's really ballsy. And I'm like, yeah. So, and that also holds you accountable. Like for me, that was like for my feed, but it was also for me because I was like, once I post this, once I click post, like it's out there and everybody knows it. My team knows it. My leaders know it. Everyone following me knows it. So if I don't get it, like they're going to know. And so that also pushed me too, because I'm one of those, like, I have to prove people wrong. And so that was helpful too, but just being loud about it in whatever way that is for you, whether you're like a mass messenger, be loud about it and message, more people, and doing your 6 list multiple times a day. Because I feel like sometimes we're like, yeah, I'm working my business. And I'm like, okay, but me working my business now doing my 6 list once a day versus me going for a promotion and doing my 6 list like 3 times a day because I'm doing extra work to get my extra paycheck and extra promotion is different. So just like being honest with yourself and what work you are doing so that you can get the result that you're looking for.
Oh, sorry. Was somebody asked, what did you post like about the like where you are in your orders?
Um, I can search it on my page, but it was basically like, so let's say I'm not good at math in my head. Let's say you're 1,000 BB away. I would divide that by 30, like for a 30 BB order. Obviously, you want to get more than that, but like bare minimum, it has to be a 30 BB order. And so divide that. So that's 34 customers. So I would say like, hey, everyone, I'm going for a huge promotion this month. This promotion is going to allow me to blah, 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 pay off my car, pay for college, blah, 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 whatever it's going to do for you. And then I would say I'm only 34 small orders away from my goal. And then I would post, I think I posted it with like a before and after picture and was like, who wants to try whatever, I don't even know. I can search it on my page and send it to you later, but just something like that. And then I had tons of comments on it. And sometimes not even comments, but people would message me. Like I would find these messages in my inbox that were like a direct relation to that post where they would be like, hey, like I saw this picture and I see that you need some extra people. So can I order this? And it was just like so crazy and just tracking your goals. And I would post that every so often when it would like lower the numbers. And I would also just add it randomly into my post. So let's say I got 4 orders that day and then I only need 30 small orders. So then the next morning I would be like, drinking my skinny coffee like my normal post, and I'd be like, by the way, I'm down to only 30 orders left or whatever. So they could kind of see that like, oh, she's actually making progress. Because I feel like sometimes people think you're lying and they're like, so where are you at in your goal? And people would ask me that, be like, where are you at in your goal? How many more customers do you need? Things like that too. But that's just an example of being loud about it and being honest about where you're at.
I love that so much. I think that's such a good idea. What does your daily 6 list look like right now?
So I actually printed out this thing. I think Megan Carter's on here. She sent it to me, but it's like this daily chart thing and it has like the boxes. And so every time I do my thing, I check it off. And so it's like a visual for me because I feel like before I was like, oh, I added to my Instagram, but it might have been 30 people and then I got busy. It might have been 50 people and then I got busy. And so kind of keeping myself accountable with like actual numbers and checking it off. So that's what I've been doing and it's working really well. But self-development, adding new friends, Facebook and Instagram, messaging for host to post, messaging new people, posting on stories, liking and commenting, and following up. Those are 7 things, but.
What do you have like number goals that you meet?
Yeah.
Okay. So what are your and okay, let me ask you this. What are your enrollment goals this month?
So my goal every month is to enroll at least 10 DTs, like at least. Anything extra is like, I'm still, like if I finish that like at the 20th of the month, obviously I'm going to make a new goal for myself. But that's like my bare minimum on distributors, and customers is anywhere from like, my goal is like 30 plus. Sometimes it's like 20 right now. But my goal is like 30 or above.
Okay. So to get like 30 customers, 10 DTs, what would you say like your numbers need to look like?
I feel like for like messaging for host posts, I message for host posts at least 100 people a day. I'll do extras if I have time. And then messaging new people is like 50 to 100 people a day as well. And those are the main things that like actually doing numbers. And then follow-ups, I follow up with everybody the next day. And then obviously every Friday as well. So like if I talked to people yesterday, I feel like conversations are easy to fall off. Like they'll get busy or they forget or whatever. And so I always follow up the very next day and be like, hey girl, like what other questions do you have? Or hey, can I get this ordered for you? I follow up the very next day to keep their interest. And then obviously on Fridays too, I follow up. But I feel like follow-ups are huge because we all know like people aren't always going to be impulsive. And so we have to be consistent in doing the follow-up part so that they'll actually follow through with it.
Yes. Okay. So self-development, you would say like 30 minutes, or do you just have it constantly playing, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so my number in my chart is 2 hours, but that's because it's like playing in the background when I do my power hours. And so that's a little bit different because I do listen to like YouTube videos and podcasts and things like that. So I'm able to listen to it like while I'm doing other things. But yeah, that's my.
Okay. And then how many people would you say you add a day?
My goal on Instagram is 500 people, follow 500 a day. And then my goal on Facebook is 50.
Okay. And how long would you say, like, if you were doing 100 Instagram, 100 host to post messages, 50 new messages, you were adding, those people and doing your follow-ups, how much time would you say that would take you?
To do my 6 list with my numbers, I usually do like 2 power hours a day. So that's 2 hours, like sit down, work, like do not waste any time. Obviously there's sometimes where I'll like reply to messages and stuff like that, so it's going to take me longer. But like without like starting any combos, replying to host posts, any of that, I do like 2 power hours a day. And obviously I work from home full time, and so that's a little bit different than like when I was in college. But that's like my current schedule.
And it is different, you guys, but it's also not. Okay. And the reason I say that is because it's 2 hours. Like, so Courtney's a triple diamond. Triple diamonds, I think now average, like, what is it? Like, I don't know what the new income chart says, but the average triple diamond is making like 9,000 a month. Okay. And she's telling us she's putting in 2 hours of sit down work a day. Can somebody drop a comment for another job that they know that you can work for 2 hours and make almost $10,000 a month? If there is a job, let me know. Okay. But the point of me saying that is like, we can make all of these excuses about why, or we just get intimidated by the numbers. Like if I was on here when I first got started, I'm just going to tell y'all, I would have probably been like, 200 messages, this girl's crazy. Oh my gosh. Like, this is so ridiculous. Like, follow 500 people. That would take me all day. No, it doesn't. And you think that it would because you haven't done it. Okay. And I am telling you this from my own personal experience because I've experienced it. I've been the person that says, I can't follow that many people. That would take me all day. And then when I did it and I timed myself and I put myself under pressure and I said, oh my gosh, like, let me see how fast I can do this. You guys, stop viewing it like you have to do it. You get to do it. You get to do it. Okay. You get to work for 2 hours and potentially see a $10,000 paycheck. But the question is are you willing to? Because if we know this system works, because multiple people are doing it, is the issue the system or is the issue you? And so what do you have to do? And I want everybody to put in the comments, what do you guys need to do in order to get this done? She told you exactly what you do, what she does to be successful. Because first off, if she's consistently enrolling 10 distributors and 20, 30 plus customers, that right there is $1,000 in fast starts. You're not even including commission. So I want you guys all to write in the comments, what is holding you back? What is holding you back right now? Is it excuses? Is it time? Is it support? Is it people not supporting you? Is it distractions? What is it? Is it a mental, like maybe you just don't even have the capacity right now to imagine yourself making $10,000. Okay. Maybe it's just that you can't even imagine it. You can't even imagine, what would you do with $10,000? You don't even know what you would do with it. Maybe that's it. But I want us all to just be self-aware. Okay. Let me ask you, Courtney, what do you feel like is holding you back from making $50,000?
Oh my gosh. I feel like, honestly, I don't even know, because I want to say belief, because when you say $50,000, I'm like, holy crap, like that's going to take a lot of time. That's going to take a lot of extra work. That's going to take building that far, like, and so that looks like really far-fetched. Do I believe that I'll be an ambassador someday? Yes. But when you say that number, like for me, the first thing that comes to my mind is belief, and am I worthy of that? Like, am I worth, like I'm good right now. Like I'm good. I can make $10,000 a month for the rest of my life. That's fine. So like, am I really worthy of more? And believing that and feeling okay about that. Because I feel like sometimes we feel guilty. Like I feel guilty thinking like $50,000 a month. Like some people don't even make that in a year. So just feeling that guilt and feeling that, am I worthy? Do I deserve this? Am I good enough? You know, and then everything it's gonna take to go into it. Like, am I capable of that? Like all those thoughts, everything.
Yeah. I'm asking you that, I'm asking her that twofold. Number one, so she can realize what's holding her back, because a lot of times we don't even realize what's holding us back, right? Because we don't even ask ourselves the question, because the first thing we want to do is blame the system. The first thing we want to do is blame all these external factors of saying like, oh, it's just external. It's not me. It's just everything is happening. I'm too busy. Gosh, all this happened today. But at the end of the day, is you guys all have the same tools, the same resources. We all have the same amount of time as Oprah Winfrey, okay, as Beyonce, as whoever your idol is. But I just need you guys and want you guys to know that you are worthy of it, okay? Because here's the thing is there's a lot of people out there that might have way more money, that might be making more money, that aren't as good of people as you, okay? That they aren't, and you can do so much more good with that money than you can without it. And that is something that I had to realize in order to make the amount of money that I was making, because I realized I was at my church and they were talking about this, and they were just like, listen, like, don't ever feel guilty for making the money, because people's gifts could be they want to go on a missionary. But how do you think people go on missionaries? Somebody has to fund it. Somebody has to pay for the Bibles that get printed. Somebody has to pay for all these things that we all say we want to do, that we're so passionate about. But at the end of the day, we're sitting here holding ourselves back, right? Because you guys know this. I'm here. If you don't know, I'm here to tell you. The amount of work is not going to be different than what Courtney's doing now. She's doing the amount of work that it takes. But what she has to do is get the belief. Okay? She has to get the belief. She has to be consistent doing the work, because guess what? It just compounds over time, and the time is going to pass anyways. The time is going to pass anyways. Okay? And so the only thing that you are at risk of losing if you start working like that is the situation that you're in right now. And so if you want to lose the situation that you're in right now, change what you're working, change how you're working, change what you're doing. How do you deal with the feeling of not being capable of or worthy? What gets you out of that funk? Hannah, Courtney, do you want to answer Hannah's question?
Honestly, for me, it's like digging into my spirituality. So listening to sermons, and that's a form of self-development that if you're struggling with that, you probably need that. And like, there are tons of sermon series out there like Stephen Furtick, Transformation Church, that have actual like series, like multiple hour-long videos on YouTube about worthiness, about all of that. And so for me, like going through that, I know I've listened to videos on that on YouTube, sermons that target that, because that's not really a business thing that you're struggling with. It's a inner spirituality belief that you have about yourself. And the only person that tells us of our worthiness is God. And so if you're feeling unworthy, I feel like the only person that can tell you that you are worthy and that you're going to believe it isn't just some like any of us, or, you know, like business podcast. Like, I feel like that truly is like sermons and reading your Bible, whatever you need to do to like believe that, but hear it from the right source, if that makes sense. So that's personally what I would do, is go to YouTube, watch those sermons about worthiness, because I feel like that's what's going to get you out of that funk. That's what's going to change your mindset and change your belief about yourself when it comes to worthiness.
Yes, I totally agree. Tay, do you have anything to add on that? I feel like you could just speak on this right now.
Did you say me?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, you guys. So at our leadership retreat, oh my God, this is like so funny. When I hear people say like, I'm not worthy, I think of it as like this little voice like of saying like, I'm not worthy, like I'm not worthy. And like I have this like like I used to struggle with this. Like I'm only saying this because I've been there. Like I felt so unworthy when I went presidential. And that voice like was like, am I worthy? Am I worthy? It's like this small little voice that would play in my head. And when I realized that like God brought me here for a mission. Like he brought me here to change and impact so many people's lives. And like, it's not about me. It's not about if I'm worthy. It's about the people that I can impact and bring with me. It's not even about me. So for me to say, am I worthy? It doesn't really need to be asked. And for me, like if I ever like feel that, that's literally the little annoying voice in my head that's literally saying like, am I worthy? And so anytime I hear people say that, I literally just like play it in my head. I'm like, am I worthy? Like, yes, you're worthy. Like God made you here for a reason. Like he put you here for a reason. He's planted you here to change lives. And like, I think it's really impactful, like what we have our hands on. And so it's just not even really in your power to really ask yourself that question. Like he's guiding this for you. And if you get to these levels, it's because he made you get to those levels. Like it wasn't you, it wasn't your timing, it wasn't any of that. It was literally his decision to put you here and to get you there. And so that's his plan for you. So of course, all of us are worthy. Okay. We're Jesus's children. We're God's children. He wants the best for us. He wants us to have abundance. He wants us to live a fruitful life. And so it's all about us putting in the work, and he's going to bless it. And he's going to bless us if we put in a lot of work and we stick it out and we're consistent and we're working in faith. He will bless us beyond what we can even imagine. Okay. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to shut up.
No, I love it. And I think it's so true because at the end of the day, I think we have to remember, like, we're not here to earn it. It's already been earned. That's why we're here. Okay. So there's nothing that we can do to earn God's favor. It just comes to us. But at the end of the day, what you have to do is just keep taking steps. And one thing for me is if you're talking about like self-worth, it's so much different than just the feeling of being worthy because God already said you're worthy. But what happens is the self-worth question is, how are we looking at ourselves? Are we saying, I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not smart enough? Like whatever it is, that worthiness word, it's so, we have to realize it's very selfish. And it's not because you're a selfish person or you think but you have to recognize like, holy crap, I'm thinking that I'm so important in solving this problem when it's not about you. It's about how can you be used? Because if you're not being used by God, you're using God. Okay. And you're using him for what you want. When really you just say, how do you want to use me in this situation? I'm here. Okay. That's it. That's how you say, that's what you should ask. And so if you're not thinking like, holy crap, like this is something that I've been put on this earth to do, or because the last thing, and this is the last thing I'll say about this because I could go on and on and on. But one thing that I always think about whenever I'm feeling like in these kind of like, there's self-pity, but like, you don't really know that there's self-pity, but in the moment, but when I'm in those moments, I literally will think to myself, the last thing that I ever want to have happen is when Jesus takes me and I get there and he says, good job, you're in heaven, you made it, you accepted me. Then he says, but I had this gift and this gift and this gift and this gift and this gift that I put inside of you, but you didn't use it. You didn't use it. Why didn't you use it? And I'm sitting here saying, I didn't think I was worthy. Like that is like literally my worst fear. And I say that because that fear can cripple us to where we're not even using what God gave us. Like he gave it to us because he knows we're worthy, but you have to do what you said you're going to do. So it might start with something super small. So start with something like, maybe it's going to go to the gym. Okay. So instead of saying, oh, I would need to lose 45 pounds. Okay. That's what people tend to do. I need to lose 45 pounds tomorrow. Just say, I'm going to go to the gym one time this week. And once you go to the gym one time, you did what you said you were going to do. Then up it next time. Okay, I'm going to message 50 people today. That's all I care about is messaging 50 people today. Because once I message 50 people today, I did what I said I was going to do. And focus on doing what you said you were going to do. Because People who lack confidence are people who make way too big of promises for themselves that they can't ever keep. So what's happened is they don't even believe what they said they're going to do. It's like if Courtney woke up and she had never been messaging anybody, and she's like, I'm going to message 250 people today. And she messaged 100, she still would feel unworthy because she didn't do what she said she was going to do and not celebrate the fact that she did send out 100. And so you have to choose which perspective you're choosing to see things through. You have to do what you said you were going to do. And you have to recognize it's not about you. It's about how God is using you. So those are like the things that I say, plus everything that they all said. Okay, here we go. Courtney, sorry. Somebody's getting ice, and so it's extremely loud. I'm all for positive mindset and self-worth. I know I'm worthy. I guess I just feel uncomfortable listening or watching the sermons or talking to God. I was brought up Catholic, even though my family was really into religion. I never studied or read it. I guess I'm just struggling with that. How do I get over that hump? Do you want to say anything about that, Courtney?
I'm kind of confused with the question. Is this like a...
Just how does she get over the hump of like not feeling like she doesn't really know that much about God, but how do you, I guess the question would be, how do you incorporate God into your business? Like how has having faith helped you in your business?
Yeah, and I feel like this is still a struggle for me because there's always times in your life where you're going to go through phases of like, oh, well, everything's going great. Like, and then you just slowly like shift out all of your like, I don't even know, schedule and routine of making your faith a priority. Whether that's reading your Bible every day, and then all of a sudden I'm just like, oh, I'm not gonna read it today, I'll do it tomorrow. And then all of a sudden it's like twice a week. And then like you just like, I don't know, because everything gets great. And I go through that too. And so coming from that standpoint, it's just reincorporating it in little ways. So for me, that's playing a sermon in the background while I'm working or in the car or things like that. And just incorporating it in the way of, why do you have your business? Why do you think you're successful? Why do you have what you have? Why do you even have the opportunity? Why do you think someone came to you and asked you if you wanted to join or that you saw their post? For me, I know that that's because I literally was praying for an opportunity like this. So I know that I wouldn't even have this opportunity if it wasn't for him. And so for me, it's giving that praise back to him and understanding that I wouldn't have any of this if it wasn't for him. And that's kind of how I incorporate it into my business and why I incorporate it, and always giving that praise back to him. And so when someone's doing great on my team, I'm not like, oh, I'm an amazing leader. I'm like, oh my gosh, thank goodness that God put that person in my business. That just like thankfulness and understanding that it's not you, it's him. And I feel like you said before, that takes a lot of the pressure off of, do I feel worthy? Am I a good leader? Like all these things, it takes it off because it's not about you. It's about him. And just kind of coming from that mindset and shifting your mindset to think of it that way, I think it's easier to incorporate it, because instead of it being like me, my business, oh, but I need to put a little bit of God in there, it's like focused around that. And I think just doing those little things of watching those sermons, like listening to, I know there's a ton of Candy Pentecost actually did a podcast about it. She interviewed her pastor. And so that was super cool because she incorporated ministry into leadership. And I thought that was really cool. I don't know, I'm just rambling, but that's basically how I incorporate it, I guess.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly it, is just like finding a way to like, it's not something that you have to do, right? It's something that like you can't really not do it. And I think I totally get where you're coming from, because when, you know, I came from the Catholic upbringing too. And when you're a Catholic upbringing, it's like you have to know all these like chants, and you have to know like, not chants, but you have to memorize all this stuff. And it can feel very rehearsed. Like you have to know things or you're going to like not fit in, right? Like if you don't know how to say the Our Father at church, you're like look weird. But here's the thing is, when you're in this business and when you have a relationship with God, it's so different than when you just have a religion-based situation with him, right? It's not, God isn't the church, right? It's not just like God, you experience God in church. Like you learn how to experience him through everyday thing. And the beautiful thing about when you have a relationship with Jesus is he doesn't see you where you are right now. He sees you where you can be. And so he never I feel like you can care, a lot of people can carry a lot of guilt of like shame of like, I'm not where God like wants me to be right now, or I haven't done a good job, and it's so much shame from their past. But like, I want to release all of you guys from that. Like, he is not a God of condemnation. Like, he's not shaming you. He's not criticizing you. He's not mad at you. But what he is doing is he's seeing you for where you can be. And so just say like, I don't want to do it without you. And put on somebody who can talk Bible in your language. Okay? Because when I could hear somebody who was just talking Bible in my language, maybe they had a family, maybe they had young kids like me, and they were just using words and things that I understood, and they were talking like saying potty instead of bathroom. It's like that, when you're just like have a young kids, you just talk different. When you, somebody who can put the Bible into words that you understand, it could be one person right now and then grow to multiple people, but don't ever feel ashamed that you don't know that much, because it's not about what you know. It's not a test. It's about your relationship, and each of us have individual relationships with him. And so just seek him in that way and just say like, Lord, like, and he knows where you can go. He's not worried about where you're at now because he sees you for where you can go. So that's the advice that I would give you. Yeah. And just start small. Like, don't feel like you have to have it all figured out. I still don't know all the answers. Listen, my daughter knows, like, she can name all the books of the Bible, and she knows like 4 different freaking things. And I'm like, she'll ask me stuff like, who is Abraham's wife? And I'm like, I don't know. Let me Google it real quick. Like, she knows all this stuff. And so it's just, you don't have to know that. You just have to know him. So don't get intimidated by that. Okay, Courtney, one last piece of advice for anybody out there who's just like, I want it, I'm ready for it, but now I want to go get it. I want to go get this promotion. I'm ready for it. What would you tell them to do? Like, what kind of game plan would you give them?
I feel like I end every Zoom the same way when it says last piece of advice. My advice is always consistency, and I will like beat you over the head with that, because you can have everything in place. You can have your game plan, you can have your 6 list, you can have everything, but if you don't do it consistently, you're never going to see the result. So like when I tell you that I have my paper here of my 6 list that I check off every day, like that's holding me accountable, because I know that I have to be consistent with those things or it won't work. If I message 100 people one day, but then I don't do it for the next day, and then I do it the next day, and then I forget for 2 days, like that's not being consistent, and I'm not going to see consistent results. And for a promotion, you want to see consistent results to lead you to your promotion. And so I think about that, like think about the result that you want, and then think about the work it's going to take to get you there, and then do that consistently. And I think just being excited about that, like whatever it takes to get your soul fueled, do that, because that's what you're going to need to get through your promotion. Because there's been times where I'm like, I've decided I'm going to go presidential. We're going to do it. And then I'm kind of like, like, I don't know. Like, I'm not really, I don't know. And I think whatever you have to do to get yourself to be like, no, I'm laser focused, I'm doing it. Whether that's like, for me, it's like organization. Like I had to print out that freaking sheet of my 6 list so that I can be organized, or waking up every morning and committing to do a 6 a.m. power hour every day to make sure that you get that hour of work done before you go out the rest of your day. Or, doing those things, whatever you have to do to commit yourself to your promotion and hold yourself accountable to that, do that, because that consistency and that commitment and self-development is what's going to lead to that promotion, and that's what's going to lead to that result and that success that you're wanting. But yeah, I will like repeat consistency over and over again, because to be honest, that's what was the difference for me. When you look at, okay, well, you sat at executive for 8 months, and then all of a sudden you promoted like 3 times in 4 months. How the heck did that happen? And for me, like that's why feel so strongly about it, was because that is the 100% difference. Was I was not consistent during those 8 months. There was days at a time where I wouldn't want to work my business, and then I would work it really hard for one day, and then I wouldn't, and then I would, and then I wouldn't feel like it, and then I would, and just like not being consistent. And so I didn't get consistent results to lead to a consistent promotion. And when I flipped that and started being consistent and making it a priority and making it, keeping myself self-disciplined, that's when I hit those promotions and was able to do that, because I was doing all those things 100% different. So that's why I always say that, because I literally saw it in my business, the exact thing that I'm explaining, going from what it was before to what it is there. I saw the result of changing that and being consistent. And so it will change in your business too if you change those things as well.
I love that. It's so good. This was so good. Thank you so much, Courtney, for being on. I'm going to end us in prayer real quick. And if you guys have questions, message Courtney. No, I'm just kidding. You can message me and I will ask Courtney and make sure we get whatever up. And I'll make sure you send me the post that you posted so I can put that up as well. Dear Jesus, I just want to say thank you so much for our time together tonight. Thank you so much for just always being present with us and always being there and just knowing what we need when we need it, even if we don't feel like it's the right thing for us. I ask that you bless each person on this Zoom, each of their families, and just let them know how loved they are, that we don't need to do anything to earn that love. It is freely given. But because of your love is what makes us want to do good and to be good servants to you. And so when we meet you one day, you will be able to say, well done, good and faithful servant. I ask that you continue to help us develop discipline, that you help us to understand what we are worthy of, and that it is not about that worthiness is taken out of our vocabulary, that we do not use that word anymore because you've already deemed us worthy. And when we try to critique ourselves, just help to remind us that is critiquing you, since you are our maker and you created us. I ask that anybody who has been far from you just turns to you and just knows that all you desire is a relationship. And that at the end of the day, it is always comes back to you, because without you, we would be nothing, we would have nothing, and that we are so grateful for everything that you've already given us. In your name we pray. Amen. I love you guys. Hope you have an awesome week. Let's kill it. Let's finish the month strong, and let's just let everybody know what we have our hands on. Hope you guys have an awesome one. Bye.